welcome to another tutorial here at Capo Productions. My name is David. Today we're going to be looking at how to play Take It by Cafune. I think that's how you say it. This is probably one of my favorite songs of the year. The main reason for that, apart from it being just an absolute banger, is that it has a chord progression that is very dear to my heart. Some of you guys will recognize this song. I used to rule the world. Coldplay, Viva La Vida, has basically the same chord progression, and I really love that song. So when I heard this, I thought, sure, this is kind of like an indie version of that song. Just the chords at least. In many other respects, it's very different. So I'm going to teach you how to play this song today. We're going to go through the chords, strumming patterns. We're going to look at the intro. I've got the tabs for the intro. Everything you need is basically in this tutorial. So if you want to jump ahead, check the timestamps below. That's going to help you. Music's in the description below as well. And lastly, I'm like a stone's throw away from 10,000 subscribers. So if you'd subscribe, that would really help the channel. Without any further ado, let's jump into it. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your capo. If you have one, put it on the very first fret, and you'll get the same sound in terms of the key as the original song. If you don't have a capo, it's not the end of the world. You can play the song without one, but if you want to play along with the song or with this tutorial, it's important that you have your capo, put it on the first fret. Standard tuning, so that's pretty straightforward. And then one other thing I'll mention is the guitar amp setting. So I'm going to put like a little picture of the settings on my amp. I'm really not a huge guitar gear nerd, so I'm just kind of like trying to mimic the sound a little bit with the effects on my Marshall amplifier. I'm using an MG50, I think it's 50 watts. And the guitar that I'm using is an Ibanez Artcore, which is a really beautiful instrument. I really like this guitar. Yeah, basically whatever setup you have, do a little bit of tinkering and see if you can get the same sound, and you should be all set. Let's jump into the first verse. I'm going to play through the chords once, and then I'm going to break down what I'm doing with the left and right hand. 2, 3, 4. All right, let's break this first verse down. So first you're going to start off with this A minor 7th chord. You'll notice the diagrams below. I'm not going to spell out exactly where you need to put your finger. Hopefully you can do that. So let's talk about the strumming pattern with the right hand. You'll start off with this kind of staccato strum. And you'll notice my left hand is muting all the strings right after I've played it. So what you're going to do is let those strings ring, strumming from the 5th string, and then your 3rd finger is going to come down and just mute all of the strings and stop the sound. Then we're going to change to this beautiful G major 7th chord, starting with an up strum. So this is the strumming pattern that can be a little tricky. It takes a bit of time to get used to. So I'll slow that down. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Yeah, let's try that one more time. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So the change from the G major 7th to this E minor chord is pretty snappy. It's quite a quick change. You'll notice here I'm using my 2nd and 3rd finger for the G major 7th, and then I'm changing to this E minor shape. You can of course just play a simple E minor if you want to keep it simple. Totally go for that if that's more comfortable for you. But if you want to really get the guitar part sounding like it is in the song, I think this is the way to go. Then that repeats. The 3rd time we start off the A minor chord again, but this time the strumming pattern changes. Down, down, up, and we include this D7 change. So down, down, up, 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 down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then we kind of hang on this G major 7th chord for a moment before heading into the chorus. All right, that's kind of a bit of a breakdown of what's happening in the first verse. Let's look at the chorus. and then that heads into the second verse. All right, so the cool thing about the chorus is that the strumming pattern is almost exactly the same, if not the same, as the second part of the verse. So we're starting with the C major 7th, and then we're sliding both of these fingers up to kind of like a D6 chord. It's a bit of a weird chord, this, but it's very easy to play. So you just have these two fingers down with your left hand. You're just sliding them up 2 frets. And then here you're jumping back very quickly to this E minor 9 chord. E minor, but we're adding our pinky finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. There's a couple of ways of playing it. You can also do it this way with your left hand. I just prefer using my last 3 fingers, but you can experiment, see what's comfortable. Down, down, up, 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 down, up. Once you've done that twice, the 3rd time changes slightly. Then we're going to change to this B minor 7th chord. Now, usually, and I think in the song, they actually play a bar chord. We're going to simplify it a little bit to avoid the difficulty of jumping to a bar. You can, of course, play a bar chord if that's fine for you. I'm going to play this simplified B minor 7th chord. 1st finger, 2nd finger, and pinky. You can see the diagram below, and then that resolves to a C major 7th. Very pretty. And that is the chorus. All right, let's look at the second verse. 2, 3, 4. And then that kind of leads into the second chorus. Okay, let's jump into the second verse. So we start off with the second verse with this cool rhythm. It's a bit of a change in terms of the strumming pattern. I'll slow it down. If I was teaching a student one-on-one, I'd often just be like, okay, let's clap the rhythm, keep it simple. Da, 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 da. And trying to keep your foot playing the underlying pulse. So I'm probably playing a little bit over tempo. Let me slow it down a bit. 2, 3, 4. And then just translate that on the guitar. Again, I'm using my 3rd finger to mute the strings to create that staccato sound. See if you can get that right. Of course, you can also just try palm muting as another option. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think it sounds better muting with your 3rd finger. But yeah, experiment, see what you can come up with. Very similar chord change to the G major 7th as we had in the first verse. And then it repeats. Again. Then we run almost into exactly the same strumming pattern and chord progression we had at the end of the first verse. Yeah, and that basically is a wrap for the second verse. All right, the second chorus I'm not going to go through because we've already covered it already going through the first chorus. The only difference is the second chorus has a repeat of the last line from this B minor 7th to C. And then it runs into the interlude, which is just a repeat of the B minor 7th to C major 7th. It does those 2 chords, the set of B minor to C major 7th, 8 times. So once you've done it 8 times, then you'll run into the bridge, which I'll play through now. 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, and then it repeats. Yeah, so that is the big change, the strumming pattern. And also we don't have these early changes that we had before. We had a couple of these kind of early changes in the verse and the chorus, where it's just before the beginning of the next bar. But here, everything just lands on the strong beat. So that's really all you need to watch out for the bridge bit. I would say that it's actually a little bit easier. Okay, now that we've covered all of the different parts of the song, we're going to look at the tabs. So let's jump into the tabs for the intro. All right, there you have it. So you'll notice here I'm kind of doing like a little bit of a hybrid thing where I'm playing the intro and then I'm jumping into the chords right after. And that's because the second 2 bars of the phrase are their rests there. So you can actually just jump into the chords right after. If you're doing like a solo gig and you didn't have a full band or another guitarist, this would probably be the way to go. Of course, if you had a second guitarist, you could always reposition these chords into a high position just to kind of fill out the sound a little bit. I'm going to break it down real slow. The first note starts on the 11th fret. Now you'll notice here the 11th fret is ignoring the capo. And the reason for that is there aren't any open strings. So just pretend like the capo is not there. You don't have to plus 1 fret on the tabs below. So 11th fret, hammering on onto the 13. Da, 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 da. And then you're going to change position to the 9th fret. And then slide up from the 11 to the 13. Now, some of the more perceptive amongst you will notice you can actually reposition the 9th fret over here onto the 13th fret of the 3rd string. That's more comfortable and you want to do it that way. By all means, experiment and kind of decide what feels comfortable and what sound you like. Those are always the 2 things to think about if you're repositioning notes. And then, yeah, jumping down right after that. Or, again, resting, you can kind of choose what you'd like to do. You're going to do that twice. All right, let's look at the second phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then that runs into the chorus, I believe. Yeah. All right, let's look at the second phrase. So you'll notice here that you actually start on the second beat. 1, 2, 3. So just watch, make sure that you don't come in on the strong beat there. 1, 2. Hopping back to the 9th fret. Yeah, so here the left hand positioning is kind of important. First finger on the 9th, first finger again. Back to the second finger, first finger sliding down to the 6th fret, and then pinky finger and 3rd finger to get the shape. Make sure that these 2 notes ring over each other. You want to hold them down at the same time. You don't want this. That's kind of stupid. Yeah, rather have both of these notes ringing because it sounds much better this way. Then hopping to the 6th fret, 5th fret, have this kind of 1, 2, 3 shape with the left hand. Nice and easy to remember. And then you'll hop back up to the 8th fret, excuse me, and then again you're going to come in on the second beat. 1. Back to the 8th fret with your first finger. Here I do a little mini bar, so that I'm ready for the 2 8s that appear in bar 10. And then that's really the end of the lead part. If you listen carefully, you'll hear that there is also a bit of a lower lead part that appears in the chorus. So I haven't written that out, but you can experiment with that and see if you can figure that part out. It's not quite as prominent as the intro and the instrumental, which we're about to go through. So let's take a look at the instrumental. So for the instrumental, it's really reverby and ambient. This is kind of an approximation of what's going on there, so take this with a pinch of salt. 2, 3, 4. And then that runs into the bridge. Okay, there's not a whole lot to say about the bridge except stay in position as much as you can with the left hand. There'll be a couple of places where you have to change position, but what I mean by that is first finger on the 8th fret, second finger on the 9th fret, third finger on the 10th fret, and pinky finger on the 11th fret, regardless of what string you're on. So you want to keep this kind of shape with your left hand. And that's especially true of those first 2 bars. Apart from that, it's really just a matter of getting the rhythm. And this is also a really good thing to try and play along with the song so that you can get a feel for it. Because what I've written here isn't exactly accurate. So you can mess around a little bit and see what kind of sound you can come up with. Here there's this like sound. So I've kind of tried to replicate that with the slide from the 6th to the 8th fret. Then to the 8th fret, 11, 8, 10. And then again, 8, 11. A lot of the bars end with this 8, 11. So just watch out for that. Going into bar 17, 6 to 8 to your first finger, and then 8 again, third finger. Da, 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 da. This 6 can also probably be played on the 10th fret of the 3rd string, so that's an option if you'd like. Da, 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 da. That's bar 21. Sliding, or you can also hammer on here. I probably would actually be more inclined to play it as a hammer on, but you can figure out what feels comfortable for you. This is my favorite parts. Da, 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 bar 23. Da, 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 da. That part repeats a few times, and then this runs into yeah, into the bridge. Guys, that's really everything there is to play in this song. I haven't absolutely nailed down the lead guitar part for the bridge, but you can experiment, like I said before, and see what you can come up with. All right, I really hope this tutorial has been helpful. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye.